Probably the biggest new feature for version 6 is extensibility. I've given the user now the ability to add on their own custom data collections into Oswatcher. So Oswatcher is extendable. Let's see how we can do that. If we look at our home directory here, I've added 3 files. I've added a file called calldu.sh, callsr.sh, and calluptime.sh. And let's look at what these files do. Okay, so in these files you can see a line of header here, and the second line is a timestamp. This is the timestamp that's going to be put in the file, and then it's going to be redirected to $1 now. Because Oswatcher is calling these shell scripts, it's passing to the shell script when it calls the value of $1, which is the location of the archive directory. So in this case, we're going to put a timestamp in the file into our archive directory location. And then the second thing we're going to do in this file is we're going to take the output of the SAR command and redirect it again into $1. Okay, that's all you have to do. If you want to do something simple, if you just want to add a different or a new Unix command or Linux command and have Oswatcher automatically run that command when it does its data collection, and then manage that file much the same way it does with vmstat or iostat, meaning that if you want to keep 30 hours worth of data, then on the 31st hour the oldest file is going to get deleted. So this data will be managed in the same way that existing Oswatcher data collections are managed. So if you want to add your own data collection into Oswatcher, you can do it as simply as this. If you wanted to make it more complex, you certainly can do that. If you wanted to write a shell script that did not just one thing, but maybe 10 things or 15 things, just keep in mind that you are going to be responsible for writing and debugging the file. I'm just providing this simple interface into Oswatcher and manage the file for you if you do it correctly, if you write it correctly. Okay, the same thing with these other 2 files. I'll just show you briefly here. Line of header, timestamp going into $1, and the output of your command going into $1. Okay, so I've created these 3 new scripts. They have to be put in the default location of where Oswatcher is installed. So you'll see these 3 shell scripts in addition to all the other shell scripts that make up Oswatcher in this one directory. The second thing we need to do is give an interface and let Oswatcher know that these files are out there. And how we do that, how Oswatcher interfaces with these new files, is through this file called extras.txt. And let's look at that file. Okay, a little bit of comment and header at the top on the format of this, but basically it's as simple as this. For every new program you want Oswatcher to execute, every shell script that you want Oswatcher to execute, and there's a limit of 10. There's a hard limit of 10, so you can't have more than 10 of these files out there. It would be the name of the file. In this case, we've got a file called call_du.sh. That's the first parameter. The second parameter is the name of the program. What does this program do? And in this case, it's pretty easy because we're running Unix commands. But you may have a complicated shell script that maybe looks at free memory on Linux or something. You might want to name it Linux memory or whatever. These are what you want to name it. And the third is the directory name you want Oswatcher to put this in. Now, to keep it consistent, if you look underneath the archive for all the other directories, for vmstat, iostat, top, they have a similar name. It's OSW and then the utility name. I did the same thing here. You could name it anything, but I just wanted to keep it consistent. So basically we've told it in this extras.txt to take 3 additional data collections by calling these 3 extra scripts, storing the data in the archive directory, and putting the directory into these subdirectories with these names. Okay, so let's exit out of here. Okay, and now let's run OS Watcher and see if it works. Okay, we can see now that data is being collected. So we'll cd to the archive directory, and we do see these new directories that we just asked to get created through extras.sh. So we see now we have a directory called oswdu, oswsar, and oswuptime, in addition to the standard OS Watcher subdirectories. Let's cd into one of them. And we'll see that it's put in an hourly file, just like the way data is managed with existing OS Watcher utilities. You have a file created every hour. With that hour contains the contents of all the entries that happen within that 1 hour. Then when next hour rolls over, we create a second file, so on and so forth. So we can see we got some data in this file. And this is for the SAR command. Okay, we can see our first entry here. Search for the next timestamp. Next timestamp, so on and so forth. Okay, that's all there is to it. I hope you'll find this very useful, the ability to add your own data collections in the OS Watcher. Just keep in mind that you don't want to do anything too heavy, because again, this is a monitoring utility. It's nice to have this information, but you don't want to saturate your system with a bunch of unnecessary data collections around performance.